Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Celebrity Big Brother 3 updates and spoilers. What a day it's been. We're going to get into it, but first things first, I want to thank all of our house guests of the day, which are Thomas Milligan, Hector Salinas, sorry, I'm all frazzled. Let me do that again. Our house guests of the day today are Thomas Milligan, Hector Salinas, Patrice, Joey Dollover Rower, and Stephanie and Mike. Thank you all so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so, so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. And I also want to thank yesterday's super chatters because that's another fantastic way to support this channel and keep us doing what we're doing. So Jefferson Tucker, AR Chan 1785, Nina Sosa, Laura G, King Forever Young 20, and Jefferson Tucker again. Thank you all so much for your super chats yesterday. And I see we got some super chatters today. What do you know, Jefferson Tucker? Thank you again. He says the veto queen earns her crown, but the kingdom is on fire. I mean, it's a real mess in there. It is a real mess. I I don't even know. Well, I do know where to start. We're gonna start in a second, but like this is one of the most like unhinged spoilers ever. I don't know. It's freaking crazy. But thank you for the super chat. And Brant Phillips says, we got drama. Glad Carson is safe. Spoiling the spoiler. But Brant, thank you so much for the super chat. You're awesome. Alex Garza, thank you so much for your super chat. And Jefferson Tucker, thank you again. He says the Yeti sounds fabulous today. I'm so glad because I was worried about that. Okay. So let's get started. When we left off yesterday, Misha is the HOH, and Carson and Cynthia are up on the block. So Carson is Misha's target. He has been for a while now, and he knows that. He knows he needs this veto, but also he's been saying if he wins the power veto, he wants to use it on Cynthia and sacrifice his own game. No, that makes like he's just the sweetest, but it makes me so sad to think about this house without Carson now. But he feels like he's going to keep being a target. So he wants to just like take that hit and give Cynthia and Shanna more time to make something happen, win a competition, and go after Todrick and Misha. But we're not really sure who would be going up on the block if the power veto is used. I mean, Chris Kattan has been saying that he wants to leave. Shayna's worried that she could potentially go up on the block. And there's also the possibility that Chris NSYNC could be a replacement nominee. He is emerging as a target for Todrick because Todd let Todrick know that NSYNC is saying he can't be trusted. Cynthia was also dropping some info about Chris NSYNC to Todrick. She told him, Todrick, you know what? Chris NSYNC and Shanna have both been talking about you. But still, nobody has told him yet about the abandoned plan to put him up last eviction. Oh my God. So Todrick has been sharing all these concerns about Chris NSYNC to Misha. So we'll see what happens. You know, he is now on her radar as well. So the feeds were down for a little under like 6 hours yesterday for the power of veto competition. And we find out that Shayna won the power veto again. Don't blow it this time. So I'm not really sure all the details of the competition. Usually they'll do the player draw and then come back and then do the competition and then come back again. But they did it like all in the same feeds outage. So I'm not even really sure who the extra players were besides her. And obviously, you know, the HOH and the two nominees. But yeah, so after the feeds were back, Shanna was chatting with Lamar in the chocolate bedroom. She's definitely been working on him a lot, building up a game relationship. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying watching Lamar starting to play the game more because he's got some good insights and it's a lot of fun. So Shayna says that Misha told her, it's okay if you want to use the power veto on Cynthia. Like, I'm fine with that. I'll just have to put somebody else up on the block. Of course, Misha's going to say that because she doesn't want Carson to come down. So Shayna says, I don't give a shit what Misha wants. I want to take Carson off the block. Because Shayna knows Carson is a better competitor, at least he has been so far, than Cynthia. Cynthia hasn't been doing great in competitions. So she knows she needs someone still in this game who is going to be able to fight and win stuff. So Shayna says Todd could possibly go up as the replacement nominee. It seems like somebody overheard that maybe Todd would be going up because they were all talking about this like it was a thing. But Shayna tells Lamar, Todd has been telling people that he has a final two deal with Misha and that he's a soldier for Misha. He's going to do whatever Misha wants. So Shayna's like, Lamar, you need to work with me because Todd ain't it. You know, he is in way too much with Misha. She's really trying to lay the groundwork here to get Lamar to flip on Todd and work more closely with her. So she says, I'm not going to evict Cynthia. Like, even if I use the veto on Carson, I'm not going to evict Cynthia. And she did say that she's open to using the veto on either Carson or Cynthia. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But she says, if Todd goes up on the block next to Cynthia, I'm going to have to vote him out. I know you're tight with him, but I'm going to have to vote him out. Because he's in so close with Misha. So then Shayna's saying like the other possible nominees would be Kristen, Sink, or Lamar. You know, Misha's not going to put Todrick up on the block. Somebody else is missing from that list, but we'll get to that in a minute. So she asks Lamar, you think you could like talk to Todd a little bit, maybe see if you can get him freaking off of Misha's jock because he's all up in there. And Lamar says, yes, I'm going to talk to Todd about that because remember, Lamar has said multiple times now that he wants Misha out. He sees her as a huge physical threat in competitions. And, you know, if she's gone, he can win more competitions. So, yeah, he wants Misha out. So Shayna, yeah, I got to that already. All right. So then Lamar does end up having a short chat with Todd. It got interrupted, so it wasn't very long. But Lamar tells Todd, we have to keep Carson this week because he is the biggest threat to Misha. You know, maybe he can beat her in some competitions. We need numbers against her. And Todd disagrees. He does not want Carson to stay because Misha does not want that. And Todd was trying to say that they could like still have numbers to go up against Misha. But the fact here is you need players that are going to be able to win things. Like you can have all the numbers in the world, but if your alliance is not winning anything, you're just going to get picked off. Like it's going to take a while, but you're just going to get picked off. So anyway, this is so sad. Chris Kattan was not really showing up anywhere on the live feeds for a while after they came back. And that's not like super unusual for him because there were definitely stretches of time where we just didn't see him because he was asleep or whatever. But then we just heard in that Shayna and Lamar conversation, Shayna didn't list Kattan as one of the potential replacement nominees. And then it was confirmed a little while later that yes, Chris Kattan did decide to leave the game. And it's always a bummer to see somebody leave like that, leave without being evicted. But it really did seem like that was necessary. It seemed like his health was really suffering in the house. And of course, health always comes first. So we wish him all the best. It was just such a treat to see him, even though it was only like for a week on the feeds and on the show. I was such a huge fan of his. Well, I still am, but I mean, I grew up watching him on SNL. So it was really neat to see him in a different light and see like how sweet he was with Mariah and some of the other house guests. So I'm glad that we got to see that. It does suck that he had to leave, but I think it was probably the right call for him. So I hope he's going to be okay. But how does somebody stay in the house for such a short time and have so many iconic moments? I feel like we all need to have some cake tonight for him or something. But he will definitely be missed on the show. And I hope this is maybe like some sort of a career resurgence for him because I would love to see him pop up back in more stuff. But anyway, how is this going to impact the game moving forward? It seems like they're still going to go ahead with the eviction, as far as I know. Can you imagine they like go through all the stuff this week and then at the last minute, Julie's like, just kidding, nobody's going home. Meanwhile, like all the damage is done, the lines have been drawn. I don't know. I think they're still going to do the eviction, but you never know with this show, right? So anyway, Shanna, Carson, and Chris in sync were discussing the plan for this week. And ideally, Shanna would like to use the power veto on Carson. And for some reason, again, Shanna and NSYNC seem pretty certain that Todd would be the replacement nominee. I guess they like overheard somebody saying that. I don't know. But Chris NSYNC says, oh, I thought it would be me, which is very on brand. It's going to be me. Anyway, I'm sorry. But he says, even if he does end up being the replacement nominee, he is willing to take that chance of Shanna using the power veto on Carson. Even if it means he's going up, even if it means that he's going home. I think he just wants to break this shit up. He doesn't care at this point if it means he's going to lose. So, okay, I guess. He was from NSYNC. So, I'm sure he's not like worried about the prize money. But anyway, after that conversation, Shanna fills Cynthia in on the plan. And she says, yeah, Chris NSYNC, I know you've been nervous about him, but he is going to flip away from Misha's side and come over to our side. We will have the numbers. It's going to be me, you, Carson, Chris NSYNC, and Lamar. That is 5. So if Todd goes this week, it's 5 versus 2, the 2 being Misha and Todrick. And Misha won't be able to play in the next HOH competition. So it's really like 5 versus 1 in that comp. So Shanna says she believes Chris NSYNC. She believes he will officially flip to their side. He's going to lock it in. But Cynthia's still very skeptical of him. So then after a while, Chris NSYNC actually joins them to chat. And Cynthia, she's not going to beat around the bush here. She brings up her concerns. Cynthia says, we finally have a sliver of power. I mean, if we're being real here, Shanna also had a sliver of power last eviction, and she didn't use it. But anyway, we're leaving that in the past. So Cynthia says, we finally have a sliver of power here. Chris, you've been all on the other side this whole time, and it seems like that's where your true loyalty lies. So if they get back the power on that other side again, are you just going to go back over there? Oh, I mean, it's a legit question, right? It's a legit question. So Cynthia says it's not right if you get the best of both worlds and you have both sides protecting you. So Chris NSYNC says, no. Like, that's not how I'm playing this game. Misha and I said we're going to take each other as far as we could, but there was never like an official number or anything like that. So he says, if this is as far as I can go with Misha, this is as far as I can go with her. So he says, I want to make this move with you guys. And if I go up on the block next to you as the replacement nominee, I will campaign for you to stay. I am fine with going truly, like, it's all good. All right. So then Chris says, if I don't go up and I win HOH next week, I will put up Misha and Todrick. I want to believe this, but I just don't know that I can. But he says we all have to do that. And of course, we know Cynthia has something going on with Todrick here. She doesn't really want to put Todrick up on the block. She does want to target Misha, but she doesn't really want to put up Todrick. So Shanna says they're 2 heads of the same snake. We got to put them up together. And I got to agree with that, because if you don't, you run the risk of one of them winning the veto and saving the other, and they're both safe. Okay, so Cynthia says, again, that she doesn't trust Chris. I guess we can just say Chris now and not Chris NSYNC, but sometimes it's fun to say Chris NSYNC. She says she doesn't trust Chris because he didn't give her or Carson a heads up that they were going up this week. And, it wouldn't have changed anything, but it would have been nice to know so they could be a little more prepared for it, and they could know, oh, Chris is on our side. He's giving us this information. So Chris apologizes and he says, I didn't think it would have made a difference. So I didn't think it really, mattered. But he says he understands, and he apologized multiple times. It sounded pretty genuine. So they talk it out for a bit, and after the conversation, Cynthia tells Shanna she does feel better about Chris in sync for sure. Okay, so that conversation definitely helped. So later, Misha and Todrick are chatting in the HOH room, and Misha's wondering, should we like try to strike a deal with Carson? You know, we can get him to agree to work with us, and then I'll put up Shayna in his place. These celebrities really just like don't understand the mechanics of this game, huh? I mean, what? Okay, so Todrick reminds her Shayna won the power veto, so she can't be nominated, but you know, that's just Big Brother. So they do some brainstorming, and Todrick's like, maybe we can convince Shayna to use the power veto on Carson. Oh yeah, you're really gonna have to work hard to do that. We can make her think that Lamar is gonna be the replacement nominee and then put up Chris in sync instead. This is so revealing how bad their reads are off at this point. They're just automatically assuming for some reason that Shayna is going to use the veto on Cynthia and not Carson. Also, Shayna would not want Lamar to go up on the block as a replacement because she is working with Lamar. She's building something with him, but they don't know that. And yeah, that's that. But anyway, Todrick does not think that they should try and make a deal with Carson because he feels like Carson is just too big of a threat to win the whole thing. So if we keep him around too long, he might be able to make it to the end, and then that's it. So we're going to check back in with those two in a little bit. Meanwhile, Shayna and Kristen Sink are chatting in the sauna. And Shayna says, don't get me wrong, I love Cynthia, love her more than like anything in this world. But Cynthia does not really know how to play this game. She's like, I've had to explain to Cynthia like 3 times what all the different options are. And she says, Cynthia has not performed well in competitions. She says, we are at a point in the game where we just got to win competitions here. And she says, Cynthia's probably not going to win anything unless she gets lucky or something. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but she definitely hasn't been doing great so far. So Shayna says, if it is you up on the block next to Cynthia, I can't vote you out. And Kristen Sink is like, no, you have to vote me out if we're in that situation because I am a man of my word. And also, I think you're going to be in a better spot in the game if I'm gone. You know, you could work with both sides here. Everyone's going to want to work with you. They're going to need you as a number. And Shayna's like, I can't do it. I can't. That decision might not be up to you. Anyway, yeah. So back to Misha and Todrick in the HOH room. They're talking about different scenarios here, and again, they seem to think that Shayna is going to use the power veto on Cynthia. Wrong. Misha thinks if she puts up Todd against Carson, because again, they're assuming that Shayna's going to use the power veto on Cynthia. She thinks that NSYNC will still be loyal to her and vote out Carson over Todd. Misha just has the worst reads. Oh my God. So Todrick's like, no. Chris and Shayna are up to something. They are like going off in rooms, talking to each other. And think about it. If they're planning on voting Carson out anyway, then why would Shayna bother using the power veto on Cynthia? Why would she get that blood on her hands, making you put somebody else up on the block, especially since Shayna has kind of been like riding the fence here and playing the middle. So Todrick figures there has to be a bigger plan in play. Yes. So Misha says no. So Todrick says he feels like Chris really needs to go up as the replacement nominee because he just does not trust the votes to go their way if Todd was the replacement. So Misha's like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a talk with Chris and I'm going to ask him who he would vote out if it's Todd versus Carson up on the block. If there's any sort of hesitation or if I can tell that he's lying to me, then I will put up Chris and Sync as their placement nominee. Okay, so later, Chris and Misha are chatting in the sauna room, and I just gotta say, you know that this game is officially popping when these celebrities are up past their usual bedtimes. Because there have been some nights when these celebs have gone to bed at like 9:30 p.m. Wild. But no, not last night. Last night, they were up and they were gaming. So Chris says to Misha, I've got you. I've done everything that you've asked me to do in this game so far. They were talking about what happened with Mariah and everything during Chris's HOH week, but we're not really concerned with all that right now. So Misha says, all right, for this week, I'm not sure if Shayna is going to use the power of veto. But if she does, I need to know that you will vote Carson out. And she says, you are the swing vote. So this is super important. Why do you assume that Shayna's not going to save Carson? What? So Chris is like, wait, are you going to put me up? And Misha says, not if you're voting Carson out. So like, what's it going to be? Are you? What are you doing? And Chris says, that's what we're doing. He will not give a clear answer. She just wants to hear a yes or a no, but he is not doing it. So Chris says, everything that I've done in the game has been for you. He's laying it on a little thick here. He's like, I have been nothing but honest and loyal. You know I have you, and it wouldn't make sense to go against your wishes. I would be on an island by myself. So Misha is asking Chris about the vote multiple times. What would you do if it was Todd and Carson? Would you vote Carson out? And Chris just never gives a clear, definitive answer one way or the other about how he would vote. So he does tell Misha, do what you need to do. If that means cutting me off and that it's my time, then cut me off. You know, it's a game. So Misha relays this whole conversation back to Todrick, and she notes that Chris did not give her a clear answer. She's happy that he didn't like straight up lie to her, but she did notice he didn't really give her a clear answer either. And she says he basically gave her permission to put him up on the block. So at this point, they're still oblivious that it's probably going to be Carson coming down, not Cynthia. All right. So this morning, these house guests were still scrambling. Misha and Todrick each talked to Shanna individually, and these conversations did not go great for them. Shanna was lying her ass off to Misha. She's like, yeah, I'm thinking about using the power of veto on Cynthia, just like you said. She's also acting like she would vote out Carson, like no matter who their placement nominee was going to be. And Misha's asking like, well, you know, do you think you're definitely going to use the veto? Because I said that before Chris Kattan left, and, you know, now I don't have him as an option to put up as a replacement. So if you're planning on voting Carson out anyway, why not just leave the nominations the same, you know? And Shayna's asking, well, what are you going to give me for that? She wants some sort of safety deal here. So at first I was like, oh my God, is she for real right now? But I think she was just trying to see like what she could get and what Misha was going to do. So Misha's really bad at this part of the game. She's not good at this. She's not good at lying. So Shayna's like, all right, I know you can't be HOH for this next one because you are right now. But if you were to win on Monday night, could you agree like not to put me up on the block? And at first Misha's like, oh, I don't know, like who would be left, how many people are left, blah, 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 blah. Just say yes. But no, she's just like, I don't know if I can promise that, yada, yada, yada. She does kind of agree that she wouldn't put Shanna up. But then Misha also asks Shanna for safety for her and Todrick until the final four. What? What? So I think her reasoning here of like why she could even be asking for something like this is she was saying like, oh, I'm pretty sure that I could like take out Carson without you anyway. So what else can I get out of this? Hello. Yeah, the benefit that you would be getting from this is that Shanna would not be using the power of veto and you could still take out Carson. But again, she's just assuming that There's no way that Shanna would use the veto on Carson. What a freaking mess. But Shanna lies and she's like, yeah, sure. She's saying, yeah, I won't put up you or Todrick. Sure, whatever. So that was that. We missed the beginning of the conversation between Todrick and Shanna, but Shanna was like, I was just talking to Misha and she kind of like really struggled to promise me safety. So not feeling too great about that. They were talking about Chris and if he is more loyal to Shanna or to Misha and Todrick. Todrick was also talking a lot about like, oh, Misha and I are different people. Like we're not making decisions together, blah, blah, blah. Come on, man. But Todrick says multiple people have told him that Chris Insync is running a smear campaign against him. And eventually Todrick says, it is preposterous and insulting to my intelligence for you to want me to believe that Chris hasn't told you that he's coming for me. Those are some really strong words to say to somebody holding the power of veto, like right before the ceremony when she could just like screw up your whole game plan for this week. But sure. So then the feeds go down for the power of veto ceremony. And Shayna, she stepped up this time. She followed through. She used the power veto on Carson. Carson is safe for the week. For the week, I mean for tomorrow. But anyway, when I say week in this season, I mean like this eviction cycle. So turns out Misha put up Chris Insync in Carson's place, which means we have Chris versus Cynthia up on the block. And I mean, if you look at the votes, it seems like it's going to be Chris leaving at this point, right? I think, right? So after the ceremony, Misha and Todrick were pissed. Shayna was talking to them and she told them, I'm sorry, but I needed to do something to give myself a chance here. She feels like she's not really part of their group. She wasn't part of that athletes alliance. And they were like, no, you were part of it. Like you just didn't know what it was called. Right. Also, she says Carson has some ability in competition. So she needed to do something that was going to benefit her game here. So blah, blah, blah. They're talking for a while. Misha says, the line has been drawn now. And she says, I guess I know who you're going to put up if you win HOH. Yeah. Okay. So then Chris was talking to Shayna and he's up on the block, but he seems totally fine with leaving. Honestly, he seems super excited because he's like, oh my God, we just flipped the house against Misha and Todrick. Like everyone's going to be going after them now. I don't know about everybody, but most people. I don't know about that Todd. So he's just really excited about the move that Shayna just made. Chris actually says this is the happiest that he's been since the first few days in this house. And he says it was totally worth it. Nice. I feel bad for Chris in a way, but also like he had a chance to take a shot. He didn't go for it. So this was kind of bound to happen. But I'm glad that he is positive about it right now. And he's just excited for his friends in the house and that they're going to be able to change things up here. So Chris says moving forward, we just got to make sure that Todrick doesn't win HOH. And I don't think Shayna is still like totally accepting that Chris is probably going to be leaving. But I just don't think that she would be able to get the votes together for him. All right. So if that wasn't all crazy enough, things are really boiling over today. Cynthia and Todd got into an argument, but it was off camera. I mean, we heard a little bit of yelling in the background and we heard like some clapping and stuff. There were a lot of FUs exchanged from both of them. But apparently Todd is still upset from week 1 when Cynthia voted for Teddy to stay over him, which is absolutely insane. What does he not get? She had a deal with Teddy. Teddy was one of her best friends in the house. She didn't have anything going with Todd. But Todd, for some reason, expected for her to just vote for him to stay. What? So they were getting into it. After the argument, Todd was a lot. He was saying, Cynthia cut my throat. Now I'm going to cut her throat. He said he's voting for Chris to stay. Todd was using some very violent graphic language. He was saying something about like knifing her and saying that Cynthia was trying to be gangster and she's not, and he wasn't going to deal with that. He said something about, you're safe in the house, but you're not safe in the streets. And Chris was kind of just sitting there like, and he's trying to tell Todd, like, relax, it's just a game. Calm down. So, yeah. On the other side of things, Cynthia was in the chocolate bedroom with Carson and Shanna, and Cynthia's not happy that Todd has been fake with her when clearly he's holding on to this Teddy thing. Like, if he's so upset about it, then why has he been acting like things have been okay this whole time? So she's not happy about that. So eventually, Carson goes into the bathroom area where Toddler, aka Todd, is talking to Lamar, and Lamar says that Todd got the whole house in an uproar now. And Todd's like, no, I was minding my own business. Like, she came at me, blah, blah, blah. And Carson's like, no, Cynthia did not come at you. She just asked you if you had a problem with her. And then you got up and like moved toward her. And Todd is saying, oh, Cynthia was saying crazy stuff to me. She said that she didn't like my ribs that I made the other day. And like, what is going on here? So Carson says it's never appropriate for a man to get in a woman's face. And he says that might have felt threatening to Cynthia. He didn't know. I mean, Cynthia didn't know what Todd was going to do. Todd says he was just giving her the FU because that's all you can do in this house. Carson sticking up for Cynthia. You love to see it. But yeah, the feeds cut after Todd was saying like all you can do in this house is give somebody the FU. Let me see. Okay, feeds were down for like an hour and 39 minutes after that. I think they're back on now. Let me just see real quick. Unless they went down again, we'll see. But what a day, what a day. Yeah, okay, so they're on right now. I'm assuming things have calmed down by now, but wow. I'm really curious to see how that all played out on the show since we didn't get to see it on the feeds. It was on a different camera. Oh, hi. Hello, Bobby, Mr. Smiles. It does seem like Todd went overboard in this argument, though.
He,
according to the secondhand accounts from the house guests that were there.
A little bit of a temper. Little bit.
Yeah, seems like it. So
nothing serious, just a little bit.
I guess. All right. So anyway, it's been a crazy 2 days. And anyway, I want to thank all of our super chatters so much for the support. So Jefferson Tucker, thank you so much. As always, you're on here multiple times. You're a champ. Brant Phillips, thank you so much. Alex Garza, thank you so much. Marie, thank you so much. And Marie says, thank you for making this season tolerable. Oh, I've actually really been enjoying this season so far. I've been having a good time with it.
I was, and then I wasn't, and now I have a glimmer of hope.
I mean, depending on who wins this next HOH, things could get really interesting. Yeah. Indie Girl, thank you so much for the super chat. Norm the Cat turns 1 today. Thank you so much. And happy birthday, Norm. The Cat is 2 now. Yeah, because I remember you from a previous season. So is Norm the Cat 2 now? Oh, happy birthday. Candy, thank you so much. And Candy says, thank you for painting us a picture. I hope I did a good job today. I hope I did it justice because it's been wild. And leading up to the spoiler today, I always go over my notes before, and I was like, oh my God, it's like 2 minutes to go. I still have like a page and a half left to read. And I was like, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. But
we had to kill the vegan video too.
Yeah, we were supposed to film a vegan video today, but we just don't have the time. We'll get to it tomorrow, hopefully. Andrew, thank you so much for the super chat. And Andrew says, I feel like Shanna is definitely the sleeper hit of the season. Totally did not see her coming. Todrick, Misha were all red herrings. Yeah, we felt after seeing Misha's interviews going in that she had a really good grasp of the game, and she was gonna do well. I mean, she's one of the few house guests that actually watched this show before and is a fan of the show. So it makes sense.
Shayna.
What did I say?
Misha.
Oh, I meant Shanna. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait.
It's been a day. But
and a half.
Yeah. But anyway, somebody was asking, Holden says Chris Kattan left, or is Twitter lying? No, he left, unfortunately. But hopefully he's gonna be okay and he's gonna thrive now that he's out of the house.
He's gonna pack up all of his underwear and stuff.
He might have packed it up himself when he left.
Oh, you think he was still packed up from?
No, he might have just packed everything and left.
Yeah, but remember he was on the block?
Yeah, that's true. He could have already had his stuff ready to go.
And he's like, I'm not unpacking this. I'm going.
Yeah, I'm out of here, whether you guys let me or not. But we will miss him on the show for sure. Okay. B Bean says the schedule will remain the same. Instead of a Final 4 finale, we will get a Final 3 finale. I was thinking that too, because I mean, it was kind of weird in the past when they had so many house guests going into the finale.
Too diluted.
It's a bit much. So
and diluted.
Why did he join the show? I think he just didn't know what he was getting into. I mean, even fans of the show, they get in there and they talk about how different it is from what they expected. So
they could have also given him like a Scaramucci deal too, where they were like, you know what, just go in, stay as long as you can.
Yeah.
You know, when you're ready to go, we'll try and get you out of there.
That is a possibility, but I think we're gonna call it here because I gotta get some other stuff going right now. I got a lot going on, but thank you all so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. And we will see you all tomorrow. No episode tonight. I'm so used to having a Thursday night episode,
like,
but
what?
Yeah.
It's pizza night.
Yeah. We'll be watching the feeds later, and of course, the Olympics. Yeah. We don't own that. So thanks again, and until tomorrow, much love. Bye guys. Bye.